Co. And Brian will be here in a second and we're ACES53. We have a guest today. We always have a Joker on Thursday. Okay, I can't say always, but we do have somebody, try to have somebody on Thursdays who will bring you some knowledge that you need and hopefully help you. Let's bring in our guest today. Hi, Michele.
Hello.
And you're out of Las Vegas. Woo! Place. I do enjoy Vegas. I just don't enjoy it during the hot times, unless I'm inside.
Correct. We don't either.
Yeah, and that's I always tell people, because so many people left California, but I always tell them, before you move out of the state, move to where you're going, be there for the worst time of the year to make sure that you can still deal with it. Because we had a ton of people move back just because they were in Texas, and then now with what's going on with Florida and their condos and everything else. But not a ton leaving, coming back to Vegas. A lot of people stay in Vegas that go to Vegas.
Very true. It's hot, but it's livable for the rest of the year.
Yeah. When Brian comes in, he can talk more about it. So I'm just going to take it a different way. So we're always talking about masterminds, and we're talking about how to throw events and how to stand above the crowd. How do you become the authority in your industry? And we've had people on here. They did a mastermind. That's how they became the authority in their industry. They did something totally different. They trained people in their industry. What is your, and please don't take this wrong, but Brian's picked you, and he didn't get it. We haven't had a chance to talk since Tuesday. So we didn't get it all in depth of what's going on. So yeah, what's your claim to fame? Because I know we talked beforehand that you were in the kids space, and now you're in the adult space because you wanted to make money, right? That's the reason. I'm just...
you know what? You're not wrong. It definitely.
I mean, kids don't listen. Look who's down there. We'll bring him in when he's ready. Brian, come on in when you're ready. Yeah, I mean, people don't understand is we do this, we enjoyed it, but I had kids, and you tell them something and they never listen until somebody else told them the same thing. And how was that?
That's me.
That was you.
I'm that somebody else. That's why, so for me, it's different than like my kids, right? Working with kids is a different ball game, but that's me. I'm not somebody else for people. So I'm still in the kid space. I just also now, I think why Brian brought me in is because I have been, I've transferred arenas as well into the adult space. And so now I get to play with grownups finally in a new sandbox.
And something that is growing in popularity. So, people before, their only way to really get a business going was, oh, well, let me do Facebook advertising. Let me do other things. And I think people have found a really good strategy, and that is working for a lot of people, because I see more and more people doing this particular thing. So you want to tell us what you teach people?
Yeah. What strategy is this?
Yeah. So I have, not that long ago, I think that's what's encouraging about it.
Right.
Picked up a new strategy of running masterclasses. And in fact, like playing with them and tweaking them online. I've run them in person a lot. I have even before I knew that was like an official like name for things, was using it. And so the idea of moving into the online space and being able to reach more people through a masterclass, through a one-to-many group event that allows you to communicate the message that you have to share with a lot more people, in order to then kind of build into like the next levels of what you actually have to offer in a more ongoing fashion, or in a even short-term result, but like the next like phase of what you have to offer.
Brian, don't forget to go live if you didn't.
Yeah, I went live. I just forgot to turn on the do not disturb. So I'm catching up slowly but surely. So I think a fair way for people who don't know Masterclass, I mean, like you said, it's been around for a very long time, but until all of a sudden Chris Voss has a Masterclass and all these people, I mean, isn't it like a multi-day webinar? Is that a fair way to explain it?
So it can be. And I think like simplifying the language for people, you're right. So a masterclass, in its most basic form, is taking the expertise of somebody and condensing it down into them delivering it to you like quickly and efficiently. And so it's like, if I were to say like my masterclass is $1 million momentum, because it is the thing that I do for people at a level that is, different than other people, right? It's my expertise. It's my gift, my talent, all the things that have accumulated over my years of leadership training and development for people. And so you take that and you package it into like one quick delivery. And that's what a masterclass is like, let me just give you the basics. Let me give you and impart with you that. Now, does that mean you're an expert in it already? No, but it means that you then have that information quickly and succinctly. And that's what a masterclass is. And so there's formats, right? If we're going to talk structure, here's where you get to play. The masterclass is very like, it can be a 1-day event. It's kind of what it is. It's just a few hours usually. And then there's also the idea of like, in this space, they're calling them challenges. And so that's where it's over a couple of days. And so it's same delivery. Like I just take it and I break it apart. So here's my masterclass. I want to do it in like 3-4 hours, or I break it up over 4 or 5 days and we do an hour a day. And so it's just kind of a terminology to get to know, but really it's things that you might have done in person before. We're just switching to an online venue, though you don't have to, right? It's an easier option for people, I think, now.
Is it kind of like a course?
So it could be.
I'm just
I
trying
would
to
say what comes next is the course.
Okay.
So if I was actually going to dive in and like really, really like get you to do it, then we go to a course like after we do the masterclass. And I would say it's more
It's
of
like an
the
appetizer
teaser.
before the dinner,
Yeah, it's the
right?
appetizer before the entree, and it's not dessert yet, but maybe I'm gonna tell you what that's gonna be later. So I'm just getting you like the idea. Like, do you even know if you need this? Like, how do you know that you need this? Well, first I have to kind of give you what we're talking about, what we're doing. And then once you know it's for you, then we move into the main course.
So using and myself as an example, there was a mastermind here in Dallas, and I had followed them, and I probably sat through 4 of their master classes before I ever decided to sign up for anything that they did. And what it allowed me to do was, instead of short social media clips or going to YouTube, I want to see, how did they handle things on the fly? Were they consistent? And when would they answer questions? Like, one of the things that drives me nuts about some webinars is they're like, oh, I got Steve and Bob and Brian here. And then you can tell the questions are dated by some of the things that they reference. And so, okay, I'm watching a replay. So that's like an evergreen webinar that somebody has out there. But with the master classes, they're usually talking about relevant events. You get to know the people who are in it. You get short duration with them, but more than you do on social media. And like I said, I sat through 3 or 4 before I decided to pull the trigger on that particular mastermind, because I finally felt like, okay, they're consistent in the 3 or 4 times I've seen them. I've spent hours with them by now, and now I feel comfortable investing the money.
There's a statistic that it's like I think it's 3.5 times somebody needs to like sit in on your content, and social media can shortcut that, right? If you produce enough content, people feel like they actually get to know you. If you're live enough, if you have enough video content of you and like how you're speaking into the world, and then if it's all consistent. So you got to be on brand with like who you are, I think, for people to want to buy into these concepts. But that's, I think it's 3.5 times that somebody needs to like experience what you have. Typically, not everybody, but like, so there are actual stats on like you fit the mold perfectly for like how often you're going to sit in on something, which is why like if it's a one and done, like, okay, great, put it out there 7 times before you decide it's not, moving, converting, it's not moving, it's not working.
Yeah.
Well, and because you might be talking to the wrong audience in the first place. That's
100%. Like, and they call it iterating, right? So you're constantly tweaking. It doesn't have to, you got to find the right language. It's like anything in sales, right? Anything in marketing, you got to find the right audience. You got to find the right language to hit your audience. And then you have to deliver the content in a way. And so there's just multi-layers. I feel like a lot of people are easily discouraged kind of moving into this, or skeptical even maybe, because it seems easy. Like people out there, coaches are like, oh, it's so easy, just do it. And it is simple. I wouldn't call it easy, right? Because you still have to like have the mindset and the energy and the momentum to keep getting back in the arena over and over, like with anything.
So I'm looking just a suggestion. So I do have the link to, matter of fact, you have one coming up yourself, right? I would suggest buying a simpler URL, because I was going to put it as a banner and I'm like, no one will ever see it.
I 100% sent you that so fast, and I have like it's getting shortened when it gets posted. It actually hasn't relaunched yet, so I will share the relaunched one with you.
Yeah,
Today
when you
was
do,
the launch
because
date.
if I put this one on, I don't think anybody's going to remember that.
Don't mind that. That's but that's also where, so what's great about this, and I think what's something that I have just like honed in on in life, is I'm not going to pretend that I always have it like so perfectly like ready to go and figure it out on everything. I just I have this, like I have figured this step out now. I know where I'm moving, but I don't have my link perfect. I'll get it fixed, right? I'll get it put back out there. And that's
We
kind of
talk
like
about it all the time. Get going and then get good is one of the things that we've always heard.
Yes.
And that's the whole thing. Yes.
Now, where do you host these, your masterclass?
Right here. So they are all done.
You should have spun around and been like, now here.
No,
Yeah.
what I mean is, where do you put on Facebook? Do you do it? What do you put?
So,
I mean, do you?
So I typically host on Zoom, only to people who have the link and who have registered. Obviously, I'm trying to keep some containment there, because having played with some Facebook hosting, it opens you up. Cross hosting between Facebook and Zoom has opened up to some fun people coming in that, we had to like shut it down, start over. So typically I host on Zoom only.
Yeah. So, and that thing that you sent, that what you use High Level, the app that you threw.
I do currently. I do. It crosses within our other business as well. So strategic.
We're fans of theirs. So
yeah. No, I just was like, that's because that's where most people will get the registration set up, do everything through there, and then they have a normal Zoom that's part of their room that they have all the time for people to register.
Yep, that's our process. The idea is to keep it as simple as possible, right? So like, just get it out there. Honestly, like the mentor that I've been following, if you're familiar with, I know we've talked about her, Brian, but Eileen Wilder, just spoke at Funnel Hacking Live, like was a keynote, or one of their keynote presenters. I was actually I'm in her mastermind. I was in it a couple days before she presented, and that's always been her method, is like, just get it out, just like do it however. So we've run into some fun things that we've learned along the way, just getting it out. And yet, like, that's been some of the fun of the adventure too, is figuring out what not to do.
Well, the one I joined locally is Brian and Gab, and they're in her stuff too. Yeah.
So, and this is not, but this is really like a webinar. A shortened down webinar, right? Basically,
shortened down and or multi-day.
Right, but it's still, I mean, it's just another word for, and I'm not trying to take anything away. I'm just so people understand. Basically, everybody talks about getting a webinar and do webinars once a month or do this, do that. You're doing what's called a masterclass, or it could be just you're using that same format, but just it's called something different.
Yeah, I think so. I think it depends on like the goal of the webinar. If the webinar is to then lead you into the next thing, then yes. Because like masterclasses for me are like always free. Like you can jump in and join it, and I'm going to give you some great content. And then again, it's just to get to know. So yeah, it's new language on something, and possibly some new structuring and formatting, but it's not a full reinvention of the wheel. It's just a tweak.
Yeah, like what I've seen is people who do webinars, they'll do 2 or 3, like I said, record them, just replay them over and over. Like Ed, you and I, when we were in Hollywood, right, at the Speakeasy, there was the guy that was there who he did the 12-hour webinar.
He did it all 24 hours.
24 hours. That's what it was.
He did it until he had a certain dollar amount of sales. So it's just an avenue to use it for anything you're trying to do.
Yes. But what I'm seeing now is there's free master classes like Michelle's talking about, but there's free, plus you can buy VIP, so you get the recordings after the fact. With VIP, you can get like a 1-hour Q&A afterwards. So it's a way to kind of segment out webinars to different levels and or multiple days. But what I also see is with webinars, I don't see people recording them live a lot. I see them once they record it, then they just replay over and over again. But like I said, the master classes, it seems more like mini book launches that are done every so once in a while. So like, Sean and Lacey at BDC, they do one for Book Yourself Solid about at least once a quarter. They do one, and it's a 5-day masterclass or challenge. And it goes from Monday to Friday, and it could be, I think they do 2 hours a day that they do it, versus some webinars like 45 minutes. That's it. You're done. You're either buying or you're not. And it's not really a way to get to know the people. It's a get in. It's like going to an MLM presentation at the Holiday Inn. You're there, you get hit up right then and there. Are you joining or not? And then they just go to a different audience. But I see masterclasses a little bit differently, as it's webinar plus maybe.
Well, the reason I said that is because people might be going, what's this masterclass? Is this something totally different? I need to sign up, or what? If I just broke it down easy, so people, okay, it's webinar. But the difference is what's your outcome from it? Because I can use webinars for all my reverse mortgage stuff, my mortgage stuff, right? That talks about the program. And then afterwards, we go further deep with something else individually. that's kind of what a masterclass is. You're trying to get them with a little bit here, and this is just I'm trying if I'm following, and then what's the next step after that?
Yeah, for sure. It's all of it is sales, right? At the end of the day, it all boils down to sales.
Mhm.
And it's the process though of like people have to know, like, and trust who they're buying from, and we know that in sales, like, or they have to have like the right mindset and to be put into the right state in order to purchase something. So the idea for this, I think, and what drew me to this version, so they're all over the place, right? Like funnels and masterclasses and webinars, and I think what drew me to this version was like the idea that like it comes from a serve first type of mentality, right? Like I'm going to serve first. So I'm not going to throw a masterclass where people aren't walking away feeling like they got great value out of their time. And then yes, and then it leads to the next thing. And then there's the next possible thing after that as well, so that you can continue to serve those people. Like, but they have to get to know you first. And so the masterclass allows for that. It just allows you to kind of do that. But what's great about it is like then there's structure that works, right? Then there's like partnering and like learning from somebody who actually has a structure that converts, that gets people like moving. Because I could get on and talk all day and not like convert anything. Like, and we see those people on social media, like they're out there all the time, but they're not doing it to like move somebody towards something that betters their life or improves their life, right?
Right.
They're doing it for themselves.
Yes.
And look at me. Look at me. So interestingly enough, this week Facebook made a change that live videos, which used to stay on people's platforms for forever, now after 30 days, Facebook's going to delete those. So
Oh,
I don't know
really?
if it's going to do it to Instagram or not. Yeah, that came out earlier, late last night, early today. So it's going to be interesting because I'm wondering if we're going to see more adoption into master classes that people will save, like you said, on Zoom, StreamYard, whatever it is, so that they have it and it's not going to be deleted after 30 days and not go away. So I'm wondering if we're going to see an uptick in people doing master classes, because again, the evergreen content that they were relying on now would be gone on day 31.
Sorry, but yeah, but masterclass stuff, where's it hosted at? Because we're not doing it on Facebook, we're doing it on Zoom,
Right.
right?
But you're
So
gonna, but like
Well,
if you want
there's
to
a
go
lot of
live,
StreamYard, right? So there's
yeah,
like the StreamYard version where you're still live on Facebook, but you're
right.
also, so that's how like the VIP play works, right? So if you come in as like sign up as a VIP, and it could work, right? Like there's obviously still avenues you can play with, but like that's a VIP play, is like you host live on Facebook, so anybody can get the general content
Mhm.
who's in that group. And then, but the VIPs, they're in a Zoom room because they got like additional time, like in the
Mhm.
process
Extra
for like
hour
things
each
like that.
day.
They got
Yeah.
the extra hour. So they're in two places. And that's where then, yes, you're recording on Zoom still also, or in StreamYard, and not just on Facebook.
Mhm.
There are a lot of these that are just run on Facebook. And so I could see that being needing to find an option. I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah. If you want to talk about just while we're live today, Gary Brecka has one going on. So Gary Brecka is doing a 3-day masterclass or challenge, and it's 1 hour of general content. So it's 11 a.m. Central. Figure out your own time. I'm a time zone narcissist. But he's doing 1 or 2 hours general public, but only if you buy into his monthly do you get the extra hour of VIP. And you see a lot of people making the conversion in the YouTube chat. So he's doing his on YouTube, and then I can't remember what else he's doing it through, but he's going live. But then unless you invest in his membership or you pay the VIP fee or whatever, you get cut off at that 1 or 2 hours. And then there's an extra hour of strictly one-on-one VIP where people can ask more questions. And I think a lot of people like that. I mentioned 3 or 4, Sean and Lacey, Brian and Gab. I've sat on other ones where you look and it's a small investment. It's $47.97 just to get access to the recordings later. And sometimes you think, hey, that's worth it. And obviously that's a first step, like in everything we've ever talked about, ClickFunnels, whatever. First step is get their information. Second step, hey, if you get payment, great. And then it's always easier to sell to someone who's already invested in you once, because they don't have that pain of putting in the credit card information.
Yeah, I saw his stuff. I saw that he was doing that.
Yeah.
Because he's also promoting his new ice thing.
Yeah. His ice pods.
Yeah.
Yep. I was watching it while I was at the doctor's office earlier, and I watched it yesterday. Yesterday was he talked about his morning routine, supplements, things like that. And then breath work was where I left off today to get here. So What?
Is that like
Okay,
a new ice bath? Now I'm curious.
well, no, it's the same. It's the new company that he left 10x Health. So it's other companies he's working with that he's always been big supporters of before, but because he was tied to 10x, I don't think he had the same partnerships he could.
Gotcha.
He does now.
I'll have to
Yeah.
check out what the.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
mean,
so-
you can get them painted any color you wanted, put any logo on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love mine. We've talked about it before every morning. Even this morning, it was 15 degrees when I got out there. It sucked, but I had to wear gloves. Like my hands, can't feel my hands afterwards.
I'm a half in ice bath.
Oh no, I'm up to the neck. Up to the
I
necks.
know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm getting there.
You just jump in.
Yeah. So an interesting question for you, Michele. With you have brick and mortar business, you also had a not brick and mortar business. For the brick and mortar business, I know you're part of masterminds. You guys do Facebook advertising, other types of advertising. What really led you down this path to wanting to dive into masterclasses also?
So I think the one to many outside of just my industry was a big piece of that. So my other industry is martial arts, and it's an incredible part of my life, and I love it. And I love getting to teach kids. I love to be in that space. But I have always there's that whole feeling of having a bigger purpose and a bigger calling. I spent a lot of time also traveling and delivering programs all over the place, and the need is everywhere, right? For just sharing some of these things that the takeaways, the I call it $1 million momentum for this masterclass I run, but the idea of not feeling stuck, not feeling how do I get people in motion? How do I get them moving? How do I keep them moving toward the next thing? How do they level up in life? And then all the things that align with that, right? It's kind of a matrix is what I call it, of things that align. So for me, our business is fantastic. We offer stuff within it. We have programs and leadership. We teach things that are, not taught in schools specifically, not just the martial arts, but the leadership side. And I started getting asked more and more about that and how we can implement it in schools, how we can do different things. And all it made me realize is that the audience that I need to reach is so much more broad. And so that's when I started looking and seeing what options there were, what was out there. Like I said, I've been offering courses, classes, things for parents in our school, things for kids outside of on the mat work. And so it just kind of broadened, how do I get out in the world? How do I get to bigger stages? How do I get, more of this message out more publicly? And eventually led me to the online version of Masterclasses and how that can lead to then building programs, but doing it in a way that I can serve from one location most of the time and still reach all these people, right?
Right.
So it's just it's a new arena for something that I have spent my entire adult career kind of working in.
Well, Ed talks about that quite a bit. Ed, once he dialed into who's his ideal audience, and he could go more than just local. Because when you first started in real estate and mortgages and everything, did you have to stay close to home, Ed, or could you go? I know you've got licensing in different states, but
no, I used to be licensed in 47 different states.
Oh, were you really? Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in this career for a while, so I mean,
I knew you're old, but I didn't know.
You have more gray than me.
This is true.
Yeah, much more.
I was married to a redhead.
There you go. No, I mean, the reason I didn't recently, I wasn't in all the different states is because a third of all mortgages are done in California. So I'm like, how much more do I need? I have access, but because we're focused mainly on veterans now, we're really pushing to go nationwide again. And only in certain, in certain states, of course, that we have to be in.
Yeah. So tell Michele, just so we can go, and sorry, Michele, we're going to put you on the spot. Tell her any of your new businesses or what you're working on, and how could you create a masterclass? Because her and I have talked before, so it'd be cheating if it was my stuff. But what of yours can you see that you would have thought, oh, one time webinar was a way to go only, but what's something that you can see this applying to, and maybe she can help walk us through it.
Well, I'm actually seeing that basically what the difference is how long a masterclass usually about an hour, right?
So not in this format. This
How long
format
is
it's 3 to 4.
3 to 4 hours. So it's actually longer than a webinar.
Correct. Now, is that 3 or 4 a day, or is that 3 or 4 cut over multiple days?
A masterclass is a single day. It's a 3 to 4 hour single day event.
Okay.
So, I mean,
run weekly, monthly, however often you're filling it, right? And you're like getting it done.
do you have fallout? People, how
In
many
what way?
that they sign
Oh,
up
like
for it? They're in
attrition
the
when they sign
class.
up?
They're in the
Absolutely.
class. They're watching it, and they're
Absolutely.
like, okay, this has been a half hour. I'm doing it. Go somewhere else.
Oh, in that sense, that's then on me, like in my content. No, I
No,
just mean
no,
like if
I mean,
people
just
sign
people
up and
change
like,
their minds. People just change, just the way people are today with kids and work and everything we have going on. It's really hard for some people to give 3 hours at one time.
yeah. So, and that's where you then play with your audience, right? Um, so yes, like there can be fallout like when that happens. I would say like when you're talking 3 to 4 hours, like it's content delivery too, and how you keep them in the room. But then it's also that's potentially why some people do it over a couple days as a challenge. So it's an hour a day over a couple days. It's also um, so there's another version that I actually learned recently that I started playing with just to see if I liked it better, how I liked it. I know it was presented on stage at Funnel Hacking Live. I wasn't there, but we got to meet him beforehand, and I've taken his masterclass as well. And again, so he does what it's his name is Richmond Din,
Mhm.
and he introduced like a caveat to masterclasses, or his version, which he calls tiny challenges. And so it's one on one. Now, I know one on one and one to many, you're talking way different scalability. But
Mhm.
his idea is that in one to one, especially if you're nervous at first about going in front of a group of people, like what if I get in there in front of an audience, right? And there's like, what if they don't show up? What if like nobody's camera's on, or what if all these things that like might prevent somebody from just kind of stepping into this is, can you do it one to one and deliver, and then hone in your offer, convert, like, and get confidence like through making sure you've tweaked it, and then build it to scale, right? So there's an avenue of that so that you don't maybe have that fallout because you kind of have 100% show rate when it's like
Mhm.
one person, and it builds your confidence because it's just you two sitting there. But no, it's a numbers game like anything else. Like 100 people sign up, 100 people are not going to be sitting there when you turn on your camera to start. And then the fall off though is absolutely on like delivery and content and people's ability to stay in the room.
Yeah, I think what Ed was saying is it's a natural thing this day and age with everybody having scroll syndrome, and we're so easily distracted. And now, to Ed's point, everybody's got so much going on that it always sounds like a good idea. Like, oh crap, I'm interested in that. But then when it comes down to the day of it, it's like, can I really afford 3 hours to sit on something? I've done that. I've signed up for a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I got plenty of time. Like even Gary's stuff today. I'm like, oh, 2 hours, that'll be great. I'm like, oh crap, I got to record this. And oh yeah, I got this doctor's appointment. So I think that's what you were asking, Ed?
Yeah, yeah. I just want to know if people drop off radius, like you figure it's a 50% once they're in, just because of the time factor or what you do. Because I'm looking at, in my mortgage stuff, there's no way I'd be able to keep people on for 3 hours because I mean, there's just no way. 1 hour is the max. Because I mean, it's not that difficult what we're trying to get across. Now, in my podcasting realm of doing of the course, I could see I could do a master class for podcasting, that kind of stuff. That's easy. I can see how that would work. And, there's other stuff, but somebody who will stay on for 3 hours is really needing what you're selling them, and I assume that's why they do it.
Which then makes them my ideal person, right? Like the people that are falling off, it doesn't mean they're a not ever, but they might
Mhm.
not be right now, and that's also okay. Like they're screening themselves for me. Like they're telling me like I might not be ready yet. It doesn't mean I give up. Like Brian just said, if you sat on there for 4 different times, kind of, right? Like you
Yep.
were off, you were on, and then
Oh yeah.
eventually. So if I just keep showing up, teaching what I'm teaching, offering what I'm offering, like putting what I'm supposed to put in the world out in the world, the right people are going to start to like find that. And I think to your point, the people that fall off are probably not meant to be there yet, and that's an okay thing. I think you have to build like a tough skin, right? Like a little bit of, I don't take it personally that it's like not the right time for them. Like that's not a me thing, that's a them thing, and I'm just going to keep showing up until the people that need what I'm offering are in my space, have like found me.
And I always try to do things faster. and faster because my process, because I can do what's unheard of, which is a VA loan in 8 days. You tell people that they in my industry, they're like, what the heck are you talking about? How can you do that? That's unheard of. Because but it's just one of those things. So I would try to figure a way to hack that to where I could do the same thing what most people do in 3 hours in an hour. That would just,
I
you know what
play
I
in
mean?
that space too. So
Yeah.
I success like speed, right? So like I play in that space. I just also understand that like there's some time that people take in like the conversion of like
Mhm,
their mindset and the
mhm.
shift that has to happen. So I agree 100%. Like I'm committed to finding a way for myself that it will be like as short and truncated as I can get it. So it's the most effectively delivered. Um, but there's some modeling in this. So I think like the process of what's happening in those 3 to 4 hours, it's not me. I'm not talking a lot of that time. Like, there's a lot of the conversion that's happening. There's a lot of people hearing their own voice, their own story, like, and so it's getting them to like be in the right space too. And again, like, yes, if it was just content delivery, I can shortcut that. Um, when I work one on one with somebody, that's like evident. My goal is always speed. Like, if I could just give this to you right now, I will. I think it's the difference, and like there's a model and a format and a structure to why it's that long.
And then I just created a veterans benefit company to help veterans get their benefits. So I could see how this could work with getting people to understand what we're trying to do and understand where they need to go and why they need to apply. But I would have just called it a webinar, and then please don't take that wrong. So now I can call it a masterclass, and I'll be just
Yeah,
like you guys.
you join us. We're
Yeah,
having
that's
fun
right.
over here in
I
this
think people come up
playground.
with words. I always tell people if you can, in your industry, if you can come up with a new way of doing it, and then you can take that, make a word up, and then have a trademark, then nobody can take what you're doing. And I think a lot of times people come up with words to make it sound like it's something totally different, when in reality, it's just a different way of looking at it, so that they can now go, okay, we're doing master classes now, which is totally different than webinars. When in reality, it's basically the same thing. It's just with a nice title. And maybe a little, because I mean, some people do webinars for 20 minutes, some people do them for, an hour, some people do them for 24 hours. It just depends on what you're using it for.
Yeah.
I agree. I think people like things like you can give them the same thing tied up in a new package, and they want it because it sounds shiny and new.
That's right.
Well, look at the app. Masterclass, is literally an app. And Chris Voss, I think his special on it's an hour and a half. But when it was like, oh, are you going to watch Chris Voss's masterclass? People are like, oh, yes, I am. And they went and signed up for it. So I think people, to your point, words are important to a degree. So if you just said, hey, I'm going to go take Chris Voss's webinar, you're like, oh, okay. But when you hear masterclass, you think, oh, I'm getting all the top tier stuff that goes into it. And it just has more options available with it. And is it fair to say that master classes are more, what was the word I was going to use? Strategic in who you're going after, or how do you go to get people to your master class?
Before we go there,
Yeah.
so there was a whole thing where people would do a master class and was housed somewhere else, right? You had
Mhm.
Obama did one. You had, I mean, a bunch of people who did all these different there were 3-4 hour different, and they were called master class. It was somewhere else. I
Mhm.
think people just saw that and they were able to go, hey, we could do the same thing. Let's take that information and now make it so it's better. We're adding more value than just a webinar, but I just think people webinars like Xerox or those kind of things from back in the day, a copier, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a term that people got used to saying when it's really something different.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go with your question. I'm sorry, Brian.
Well, now I forgot. You talked for so long.
You know exactly what you asked her.
No, I really don't remember what I was going to say. Oh, I know. The question I asked was, is there a difference in how you go to get the people that become the attendees? I know a lot of webinars were just, hey, Facebook ads, let's just shoot a big, web out there. How do you go about when you're teaching people how to fill a masterclass? What's some of the strategies behind it?
So initially, I would say a lot of it is a one-on-one, like it's a direct strategy still.
Mhm.
Um, you start by filling um, groups. There's a few different options, right? So the ones that I've played with, and again, like this version is newer for me than like my brick and mortar. I know what we're doing there. Like I know how we
Right.
do this. So much of it overlaps though. I think everybody wants there to be some fancy new perfect version. And really, it's still showing up, talking to people, reaching out, finding out who they know. Like it is learning some of the language of not just like dropping into someone's DMs and being like, I got a new offer. Like it's, who do you know that this might help? Like, how do you serve them? There are strategies. Like once I would say the idea is like you got to fine tune. Once your offer is like converting, once your masterclass is turning into like selling the program, the product, the thing that you actually want to deliver to people, that's when now some of the content strategy, the ad strategy comes into play, right?
Mhm.
Like before that, it's just about like reaching out to as many people as you can to fill the room. There's also strategies of like partnering with people. So the idea that like I don't necessarily have to fill the room, but I can get on and I can run my masterclass for like the people, your audience. Like you have an audience, like, hey, let me come in and let me teach your audience how to build $1 million momentum so they
Mhm.
don't have to keep restarting constantly in their life. And it's like a partnership, right? So like whatever I sell, you just get a piece of because you brought your audience into me. Like let me have get essentially access to them, right? Um, so there's some strategy to that in like building this, but again, like can your audience be served by what I have to offer? If they can, then it's a great plan. So filling the room can happen in a lot of different ways. And again, yes, it takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of like building that momentum and getting things into play, trying a lot of things so that it works. But more of it is the evergreen stuff, is the ongoing, is the staying consistent in your space type of stuff. I know everybody sees the like, hey, this worked for me immediately. Like you're seeing the highlight reel on
Mhm.
Instagram and Facebook. You're not seeing the months or years that went into like building that before it happened. It doesn't have to be that long before you profit, though. It doesn't have to be that many people. Once you have a clear, clean offer and it's delivering the result you want, then it doesn't take as many people as I think people assume. As like everybody's like, oh, I have to get thousands of people in my room. No, you don't. You got to get a handful of people in your room with a really good product.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of like anything in sales. So
We
there's
we talk
no
about that a lot,
magic
the ideal audience.
version. Yeah, oh yeah, your avatar has to be kind of honed in to like who you're trying to serve, so you're only talking to them. Which is why my room can be small. I can have 8, 10, 4 people in my space and still convert when my avatar is lined up, when my offer is like fully like honed into who they are.
I understand. At least you know who your perfect client is.
And I'm
Well,
still tweaking. Like I'm
of course.
pretty close, but I'm still playing with like, oh, they're still saying they want this, and that's kind of I didn't really think about that, piece of the puzzle, right? Like, yes, I can offer that. I didn't know if I wanted to or if I needed to, and so like that's what they call it, like iterating. Like you just keep tweaking until you're happy with it and what you're getting to do in the world, and they're getting what they want out of it too.
But that's two separate things that I heard. So I said your
What's
perfect
that?
client. I said your perfect client or avatar. You said your perfect offer. Right? Those are two
Yes,
separate
but I don't
things.
actually know my yeah, yes, and so I need my perfect avatar, but without a perfect offer, I don't know if I found them yet.
Well,
Or
it's
without like my ideal offer, I don't know if I found them yet.
who do you like to work with?
Oh, that's true. Like I want to know who they are, but I also want to know I enjoy what I'm doing with them.
Well, again, that has to do with not necessarily, and this is just my take of what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what I think you're talking about two separate. There's somebody you like to help. I know you have that person in your head, but then the question is, how are you helping them, and what offer is that? And that's what I hear you're tweaking is what you're
Oh, I
offering
see what you're
them.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
just
hear
what
you.
I'm hearing. Yeah, and I could be wrong. Brian never is, but I could be.
Oh no, you're wrong a lot. It's fine.
I just
We
said that.
still let you talk.
No,
You're
but
here
I'm just
because you're
saying because
free.
people are so worried about, but most of the time narrowing down who their field is. You have to do that so they hear you, and what you're offering them, you might not even have thought of to offer them till they go, "Hey, I need help with this now." And if you don't handle that, you could bring in, like you just said, somebody else to come into the room and do their offer, and then you get a piece of it.
Yeah, you don't have like, and I think that's the big piece. I don't have to be the person that has every answer for them, but it doesn't mean I'm not connected to the answer or I can't provide it through what I offer,
Right.
right? Like, oh, you know what? Actually, I can build that into what I serve you with. It's just not going to be me that delivers it. I'll find the right person for you. So yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of like a digital event organizer to a degree, right? You're helping create the experience first with the master class, and then you can bring in other speakers who can be part of your event at the same time. And then you can rev share, do other things with them. And that's what's interesting, because of the other industry you're in with martial arts and studio owners. Before I started working with Chris and Adam and everybody, I thought, okay, just people have classes and do advertising. And there's so much more when you go into a studio of, yes, they'll bring in experts that people who are interested in that martial art or know that famous person will come in and to roll with them or take classes with them. But then y'all do birthday parties, and then people sign up because they come in, they see in the studio. And so you create a whole experience for a birthday party and then that helps grow your studio at the exact same time. There's so many different ways to get out there. And I think that's what you're helping teach people is this is yet another strategy that they may not have thought of, that they can give digitally. They can reach their ideal audience and give them exposure to them to spend time with people. So in Diary of a CEO, Daniel Priestley was on, I think it was 11, whatever. I forget what the other one was, but across 7 platforms, people have to spend 11 hours of time with you before they'll buy anything. And it was some wild number. I need to write it down my desk. So did I have it written down? Yeah, I erased it. But anyway,
we have that much time for you to find it.
That's right. Well, because I write them, then I get writing, my arms erase it. So anyway, but yeah, it was the longer that you spend with someone. Like I said, I'm case in point with Brian and Gab. I sat through several of their master classes, and theirs usually go. They run 2 different types. They run one. They'll be like a Sunday night that a couple hours long, and then they'll run one like they're getting ready to do next week. That's 4 days long, and I think it's like 2 hours a day.
A challenge,
something of that nature. Yeah. So it's interesting to watch it and knowing that's what you're working on at the same time, and watch and see how it works and converts with other people who I know have gone through a similar type thing.
Well, and the industries are so similar. I do believe that like so many people think, oftentimes, I guess, I mean, not so many, but oftentimes I think people assume, again, there's only one way, or it just works automatically. Like there's a process here. And that's the point, is this took that 7, would you say 7? I've heard that before
I think
too.
7,
It's
11,
7 hour.
something.
Yeah.
7
so
hours, 7 platforms, 11 hours.
Shortens. Like I'm not on 7 platforms, and I can still convert, because if you spend 3 or 4 hours with me, like you're going, and I'm live and I'm there in person, like you're gonna get that feeling differently. We're gonna have interactions, right? And so it's a little bit of a different personal touch. You're gonna see me react in real time, all the stuff like you talk about with body language and energy, and you're gonna see that in real time, and you're gonna decide if it's much more easily, right? Then you get into the logical side where you're like, okay, now do I actually need this thing? I'm like, is that the answer for me? But the know, like, and trust, I don't need as many platforms. I don't need as long if you're in the room with me.
Right. Okay, I found it. It's 7 hours of content across 11 actions or 11 interactions on 4 different locations. So I can maybe, like we're talking about, it was 4 times that I sat with Brian and Gab before I signed up for their stuff. Now that could be 2 times on Facebook, 2 times on Instagram, whatever. But yeah, it was 11 interactions that total up to 7 hours of time. So interesting stuff. We're in different day and age. Like I said, there's some, I have a buddy who he likes to sign up for webinars. And then when they're in there, like, hey, we're coming live from whatever. So he types in not profanities, but just to see if there's a moderator or anything else. And he knows if they don't respond, that this is just something that's recorded, that it's done over and over again. And I think that's a main difference I've seen so far with masterclasses is it's not typically a recording. It's usually done live, and they reference things that are going on at that time, and they have different offers all the time. Because before, like the event Ed and I went to, there's guys like, come up with your perfect webinar, record it once, maybe do it 2 or 3 times so you get nailed down, and then you run it once a week. And I can't remember who that worked for. Somebody else did that. They just ran a webinar once a week, but it was recorded, never live, never went back, unless they had a new offer. And that can be successful for other people. That's not what I'm seeing in the masterclass type things.
Yeah, I'm hearing, all right, so you record each one, but then once you've done it 20 times, then use that recording to then, for people who don't want to wait for the next one, if you don't want to wait, we have one starting now and you can go there, or you can, go to you just have to let people know, because I'd much rather watch something that's been recorded instead of waiting for a week to see what their offer is.
Well, and then there's like the stack, right? So like once you've got this this masterclass and it's converting into your high ticket offers and it's building this like product, well now you can like maybe you've recorded something in the middle there where it's like you can watch the recorded version, but then you're still going to get on live with me later because it's going to take a couple times possibly. And then there's like the $7 thing that gets you in the door the first time, and like so there's still a stack built into this.
Right.
On the backside too, that's part of that like whole funnel system that really converts. But with that, I agree. It's live, it's in person, it's delivering in real time, and I think people want that. I think more and more people, like as much as we've gone away from certain types of industries or so many in-person events or how big they are, at the same time like I still want to know there's another person on the other end of this. I also I like recordings too. I like to just be able to 2x it and like listen to it in the cold plunge, like trying to like survive it. But at the same time, like if I want to get something out of it, like I want to know there's a person there. Who can I ask a question? Can I like interact with them, right? And I think that's where people are starting to really grasp that they want that. They want the interaction back.
So
when
what
I've
I
done
would,
that, no, go ahead, Ed.
I was going to say, what I would tell people to do is then do one that's recorded that says, okay, this is just a brief overview of what we're doing. Sign up for the full class at this point, and that you can then get them to the next one. That way you can get rid of the people who aren't your perfect clients. And then the ones that you really want will go to your actual master class that you want, instead of maybe doing it the other way.
Yeah, that's interesting too.
I come up with things occasionally. So
I
See, I'm
I
not.
have heard these great things about you.
I go and I buy the like 47 or 97 if I know it's something I'm going to want to watch and I know it's multiple hours, because I figure, okay, it's like buying a book for the 47, 27, 97, whatever it is. If I have access to that recording, then I can go back and listen to it later when I'm, like you said, listening on 2x. But I do like, if I know I'm going to have that free time available, then I just go ahead and attend. And then I'm like, okay, if I do have a question or somebody asks something, that's where it's at. And I can go back and find it. So
Michelle, all I do is just wait for Brian to watch it and then have him send me the notes.
that's true. I am good about that part.
Brilliant. You don't even have to wait for
his
Brian.
notes
like AI will send you the notes now.
Yeah.
His notes are amazing. I mean, if you ever had an event with him, just tell him to send you the notes afterwards.
Speaking of which, are you going to be in California next week?
I am pretty sure. I was on the fence about
All right.
attending as well, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be there.
I'll be there Friday, but I have to fly home Saturday morning. So coming in Thursday, presenting Friday, hit the road Saturday morning, come back home. So be a lot better weather.
Well,
than
I think
here
we're
in Dallas.
coming in Friday morning. If we come in, like we're coming in super early Friday morning, and then CD speaking too. So I don't know when, but
good.
Yeah, so I was going to come in and support that, and then work on my own stuff in the back.
That's right. Well, that's good. You and I can peel off to the side then. Friday night.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome. All right. Well, I know we are past our 45 minutes here. So, Michele, how can people find you?
Currently, the best place to find me is on Facebook. Michele Young. Michele has one L. And then I will posted a cleaner link to my upcoming masterclass on March 5th. But that's going to be a super fun way to be in the room with me and to interact and have a good time. So if you check me out on Facebook, it will all be linked through there. And I'll find a way to get Brian to share it.
Do you have a website, Michele?
We do. It's getting refurbished and it's not live today. So, but it will be, it's engageleadership.org, but it will be back live in a couple days.
Okay.
So for people to understand, you guys was it 2 years ago, you reinvested in a complete and total rebrand of everything that you guys had?
Yes, it was 2 years ago. And a year into that process, the martial arts school took over the full version of the rebrand. And at this point, the last piece of the puzzle is launching the website for this version of our parent company brand.
And the reason I bring that up is you guys were already running a successful martial arts studio, but it was one of those things, and Ed and I talked about how important branding is. And what you guys realized is that's a huge thing. So you went with Bijal, and is that who helped you with it, right?
Yep, Bijal and our team at launch.
Went through a total rebrand. It's not cheap to redo a lot of stuff, a lot of material, collateral, you name it. But that's one thing I do appreciate about you guys as a couple and as business owners are you're constantly evolving, constantly learning new things and testing new things also. So
always
anyway.
willing to grow, to be the
Mhm.
I think it's a living with integrity piece, right? Is I'm going to tell people to like grow through their next level, which is what I teach people to do, to be in momentum, to break through to the next level. And to do that, I have to continually do that. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just always been a piece of living within the integrity of what I like assist other people with.
No, Brian just likes being a hypocrite.
I do. It's enjoyable. So
I was gonna say that about me, but I thought I'd throw you under the bus.
might as well.
Once or twice today, Brian.
Yeah.
So why don't you take us out?
I was going to say, since I was late, I'll take us out. All right, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today on ACES53 with our special guest Joker, Michele. And as you know, Tuesdays, it's just Ed and I, two grumpy old men, talking about some subject that's usually teeing up that week's Joker. But the best way to support us, like and support. Michele, thank you for joining us today. Ed, thank you for being here and starting it off while I was late. And we will see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, everybody.